Chapter 8, Anatomy of Anterior Chamber and Drainage Angle, from Wolff's Anatomy, 8th edition, page number 302. Uveoscleral drainage pathway. The anterior portion of the ciliary body extends into the chamber angle and is inverted internally by the uveoscleral meshwork behind the scleral spur. The cellular lining of uveal trabeculae is incomplete, and in any case, there is no continuous cellular layer on the anterior iris surface, so that aqueous has direct access from the anterior chamber into the ciliary body and thence into the supraciliary and suprachoroidal compartments. These are potential spaces occupied by a loose framework of collagen interspersed with fibrocytes and melanocytes. They may become occupied by transitate or exudate in the formation of choroidal detachment. The route from the anterior chamber into suprachoroidal space has been demonstrated to provide egress for a small portion of the aqueous humor, which does not live by the conventional pathway. Fluid leaves the suprachoroidal space either by diffusion through the sclera or by absorption into the uveoscleral system, including the vortex veins, the uveo-vortex outflow. Although there is some debate as to whether the system is pressure dependent or pressure independent over the normal ocular pressure range, it is generally agreed that it accounts for about 10% of the total bulk aqueous outflow in the human. Location of the resistance to outflow. The vascular pressure in the episcleral venous system is in the region of 9 mm of mercury, and the intraocular pressure varies between 10 and 21 mm of mercury, with a mean value in the region of 15 mm of mercury. The pressure gradient from the anterior chamber to the episcleral veins is explained by a resistance to flow residing somewhere in the conventional outflow pathway. The resistance has been calculated to be 3 mm mercury per microliter per minute. The resistance to outflow is often expressed as its reciprocal, the facility of outflow. For example, 0.3 microliter millimeters mercury per minute. In primary open-angle glaucoma, chronic simple glaucoma, the resistance to outflow increases due to changes in the outflow structures, and therefore outflow facility falls. The precise distribution of the outflow resistance along the channels of the outflow pathway is still under debate, despite many studies of the subject. Nevertheless, certain generalizations may be made. The conventional outflow pathway accounts for about 90% of the pressure-dependent outflow resistance, while the uveoscleral pathway accounts for the remainder of the bulk flow. Peterson, Jackson, and Sayers in 1971 estimated that 10 to 15% of the resistance in the conventional outflow route resided in channels lying in the outer half or two-thirds of the perilimbal sclera, 25% in channels in the deeper sclera, and 60 to 65% in the meshwork system and Schlemm's canal. This approximates to the 75% determined for trabecular meshwork and Schlemm's canal in human studies. Early theoretical studies by Cole and Tripathi in 1971 suggested that the endothelial monolayer of Schlimm's canal was a site of relatively high resistance to aqueous outflow. Subsequent studies, however, based on ultrastructural analysis of trans-endothelial channels in the human outflow system, suggests that less than 10% of the outflow resistance of the meshwork and inner wall of Schlimm's canal reside in this layer. However, more recent calculations, also based on scanning electron microscopic studies of the distribution of pores on the inner wall of Schlimm's canal, have estimated a pore invagination resistance of 24% of the outflow resistance internal to Schlimm's canal. All such studies are dependent on the accuracy of measurement, the number and dimensions of transcellular channels, and this in turn is dependent on the conditions under which specimens are obtained and techniques of processing and examination. Those who believe that inner wall resistance is high consider the overall resistance of the conventional pathway to be regulated by the numbers and size of transcellular channels formed at a given instant. Those who believe that the inner wall resistance is low consider that the frequency of transcellular channels is a passive phenomenon related to the pressure gradient across the endothelial lining of Schlimm's canal. The spaces of the tubercular meshwork, both intra, that is lying within a single sheet, and inter, that is lying within adjacent sheets, decrease in size from within outwards. It is likely that resistance in the system increases in the same direction. The spaces of the uveoscleral system probably offer negligible resistance, while the morphology of the pericanalicular tissue adjacent to the inner wall of Schlimm's canal suggests that it contributes a relatively high resistance to aqueous flow compared to the trabecular meshwork proper. Regulation of intraocular pressure. The manner by which intraocular pressure is controlled is not fully understood. It is likely that both aqueous secretion and outflow resistance are regulated. A rise in pressure will eventually inhibit aqueous inflow. Similarly, a rise in ocular pressure should concurrently open out the spaces of the trabecular meshwork and increase the number of transcellular channels found in the inner wall of Schlimm's canal. This also may increase the washout of material from the extracellular space, but this is not the case in primary open-angle glaucoma. Although cholinergic drugs such as pilocarpine and drugs with an alpha-adrenergic action such as adrenaline have only a small pressure lowering effect in normal eyes, their effect in lowering ocular pressure in open-angle glaucoma is well established. In the normal eye, their effect on pressure is buffered by homeostatic regulating mechanisms. Both lower the resistance of the outflow pathway. Pilocarpine may increase the numbers of transcellular pores within the lining of endothelium of Schlimm's canal. Also, by its action on the ciliary muscle, which is inserted into the scleral spur and uveoscleral meshwork, pilocarpine achieves an opening out of spaces of the meshwork. The manner in which adrenaline works is unclear, though some of its action may be a direct one on the tubercular cells and some of the vascular networks into which the collector channels drain. Adrenergic beta-blocking agents and carbonic anhydrase inhibitors used in the treatment of glaucoma reduce the rate of secretion of aqueous humor by the ciliary body. Diagrammatic representation of the drainage pathways of the aqueous humor. The aqueous humor formed in the posterior chamber PC by the ciliary processes flows into the anterior chamber through the pupil. In normal human eyes, the main drainage route for bulk outflow is the conventional drainage pathway constituted by the trabecular meshwork and Schlimm's canal SC. Subsidiary drainage routes include 1. Uveoscleral and uveovortex, that is, through the anterior face of the ciliary body into the suprachoroidal space. Second, number 2, exchange across the anterior vitreous face. Third route, exchange across the iris vessels. And fourth one is exchange across the corneal endothelium. The role of 2, 3 and 4 in the net removal of aqueous humor appears to be insignificant because the net loss is equivalent to net gain through a two-way exchange. Under pathological conditions, however, these accessory drainage routes may assume greater significance. Drainage by the uveoscleral route is exploited in operations of cyclodialysis. L stands for lens. Figure 8.28. The effect of ciliary muscle contraction on the outflow pathways. Contraction thickens the muscle bundles, eliminating spaces between them and reducing uveoscleral outflow. At the same time, the action of the muscle on the scleral spur and trabecular meshwork itself opens up the meshwork, reducing resistance across the meshwork and facilitating flow into Schlimm's canal. A. Ciliary muscle relaxed. B. Ciliary muscle contracted. Thank you.